Thank you, Father, and thank you, Jim Havens, for inviting me to speak today. Some years ago, Pope St. John Paul II, speaking to the great pro-life hero, Father Paul Marx, the founder of Human Life International, said, "You're doing the most important work on earth." I think we can fairly say the same here to all of you. You are doing the most important work on earth, saving lives and saving souls, and reminding Catholic men that if they're going to be members of the Church triumphant in heaven, they must first be a member of the Church militant here on earth. You know, here in Massachusetts, believe it or not, we used to have great pro-life political leaders. Former U.S. House Speaker John McCormick, former Governor Ed King, former Mayor Ray Flynn, former Senate President Bill Bulger, former District Attorney Garrity, former State Representatives Jim Craven and Charles Doyle and Michael Paul Feeney. They were all Democrats, and very sadly, that legacy in the Democratic Party has been lost. Well, that same revolution that overtook the Democratic Party is now working on the other major party. And now we're being told that abortion is only a state issue. Well, maybe it is. But there's one thing that we do know. States' rights never stopped slavery. States' rights never stopped segregation. And states' rights never stopped the involuntary sterilization of the mentally ill. Thank God Abraham Lincoln wasn't a states' rights advocate. We hear a lot about the so-called extremism of late-term abortion. Well, my esteemed friend and colleague Bill Cotter of Operation Rescue Boston has pointed out any taking of innocent human life as an extreme act. The reality is late-term abortions, third trimester abortions, are less than 1% of U.S. abortions. So when you hear a politician talking about we have to stop late-term abortions, you need to ask him what's he going to do about the other 99% of abortions. We need to hold them to a higher standard. You also hear a lot about polls. Well, polling began in the late 1930s under George Gallup. Franklin Roosevelt was president. FDR saw polls as an instrument on where he had to change, to tell him where he had to change public opinion to advance his agenda. The other major party seems to think polls are an impenetrable barrier to contain their agenda. Don't believe them. We have a new archbishop in Boston. Let us hope and pray that under this new archbishop, pro-lifers will be treated as faithful Christians and natural allies, and not as a disfavored minority to be marginalized and constrained. Let us hope and pray that the new archbishop ends the disreputable practice of Catholic institutions in this archdiocese, providing awards, honors, and platforms to the enemies of human life and to their billionaire bundlers. Let us hope the new archbishop becomes the first prelate of this diocese to enforce the prohibitions and the provisions of Catholics in political life. This is a document from the U.S. Catholic Bishops' Conference, which prohibits giving awards, honors, and platforms to those who reject our fundamental moral teachings. Right there. Let us hope the new archbishop also imitates the example of the Bishop of Worcester, the Most Reverend Robert McManus, who instituted a strong Catholic identity policy for Catholic schools and Catholic institutions in this diocese. And let us hope and pray that next year the new Archbishop of Boston will fully support the Men's March to abolish abortion. I have one last word that I want to address to members of the media that may be covering this. A little while ago, this march was physically obstructed. Now they're attempting to acoustically suppress it. by drowning us out, preventing our free speech from being exercised. Perhaps it's time for the news media to identify these groups for what they are: hate groups bent on violating the constitutional rights of others. Thank you all very much, and God bless you.